All right, Nick, let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes on the recruiting road once again. Mario Cristobal doing some big things, not for 2024, but looking ahead for 2025. They have got a commitment of a guy I think is a major under the radar player. Let's get in the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, from over on 3 Sports, and says Jacksonville, Florida, Duncan U. Fletcher High School interior offensive lineman to Kalen or TK Mukes had a chaotic 9 days. 6'5", 315-pound offensive guard landed a Miami offer May 7th, scheduled an official visit 13 hours later, and announced his commitment to the Hurricanes Thursday evening after debating committing for roughly a week, he told Kane Sport. Miami offensive line coach Alex Mirabal told Mukes when he extended the offer last week that he could commit at any time, even that day if he wanted to, and Fletcher decided earlier this week he was ready to pull the trigger. Nick, I think this is a really big get for Miami. I think a lot of people will be like, Kalen Mukes, haven't heard of him, but I think eventually, once we see this guy play, I think now that he's been highlighted, he's going to fly up recruiting rankings because I think this is a hidden gem for Coach Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes. I'm curious what your thoughts are, Nick. But before we get to you, Miami fans, in the comment section below, what are your thoughts off after everything has settled? We've seen spring ball, we've seen the spring game, we've seen training camp. We're coming into the summer. I want to know, who did you see that you think is going to really stand out this season? Who is going to be the hidden gem? Obviously, there's big, names at quarterback position. There's some great skill position guys as well. But who do you think is going to be the biggest showstopper for Miami this season? Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the recruitment of Mukes?
So I think he's a really interesting prospect because he's a big guy, 6'5", 315 pounds. He's just a massive dude. He looks like a big time Division 1A offensive lineman. And he just, his frame, his size, his strength, it checks all the boxes. But he's sort of just a really raw football player. And I looked at his highlight from him his junior season, which again, it's really hard to grade some kid, some high school kid, on how good they're going to be by looking at a few plays on his highlight film. I'll acknowledge that. But he is a physical, dominating, just beast. He's got nastiness to him. His film is full of people of him getting on guys and driving them 20, 25 yards and then throwing them on their back, right? It's awesome stuff to watch. He can play both left and right side. He's very versatile. There was even some screen game and some pulls in there as well. So again, he can do a lot. He's a good enough athlete. I think there's a lot to like, but he's very raw. If I watch his film, he's kind of a guy that just sort of awkwardly gets on people, gets his hands on them, and then totally and completely obliterates a poor high school kid going up against him, which is good. That means he has the strength, he has the size, he has the mentality, but he's got to become a more well-rounded football player. He's got to be a more complete football player. And I think over time, with better coaching at Miami, he'll get there. I don't think, as it sits today, this is a guy who's a day one contributor for the Miami Hurricanes, but he has the right mentality, which is incredibly important. He has the right frame size and all the measurables. That's incredibly important. That if he can get more refined through some quality college coaching, this guy's a redshirt candidate 2025 for sure. Maybe even another year or two before he's ready to start big time for Miami. But if he can get through that coaching and really refine his craft, he has a potential to be a first round pick, all conference kind of player because he checks every single box outside of technique. And again, technique is critically important. I'm not denying that. And his technique needs a lot of work. But I tell you what, there's a lot of guys who would kill to have his size, his athleticism, his power, his nastiness, right? He checks every other box to the extreme. I think this has a chance to be, this is sort of a long-term play here for Miami. This is not going to be a guy you're going to hear his name in 2025, probably not 2026, but by 2027, 2028, I think he has a chance to be an all-conference, maybe even all-American kind of player. He's that talented.
Yeah, Nick. And I look at Coach Alex Mirabel. I look at what he's done recently in his recruiting. 5 offensive linemen in recent memory. And this is a guy, all 3 4 stars, 2 5 stars, 2 guys that were absolutely incredible. One guy, number 6 player in the country. So I think when he sees offensive linemen, he knows talent. And I think that is what you see when you look at a guy like Mukes, is talent, untapped potential. Just a guy who, like you said, he's very raw, he's very real, but he has all of the power, all of the size that you want, that mentality. We talk about it all the time. It's hard to coach a good mentality in a player. Sometimes, like, guys want to be aggressive and drive people into the dirt, like you said. That's not something you can coach. You can roll it back some if they're too aggressive, but to get somebody to get in that mindset is a little bit more difficult. So, like you said, I think this is a guy who's going to come in. He can refine his craft, learn from some of these really highly touted recruits, namely the 2 5 stars on Miami's roster already, and really come into his own. I think, like you said, after a year, maybe 2 years, this guy is going to be a star on the Miami offensive line. And this seems like a major future play that I think potentially has the possibility of having a huge return for their investment.